And when I go on holiday, I love it. But I also can't wait to come back because I love what I do. Cost of living crisis. Is it real? In my opinion, when I say it's not real, is because you have two choices. You be proactive or you sit and moan about it. If you want to make money and you want success, you need to be talking only during the week, your working hours, with people who do 6, 7, 8 figures.
Aaron, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much, mate. Looking forward to it.
It's an absolute pleasure for you to be here today, mate.
Love it. Looking forward to it.
So, Aaron, I've got investor, social media influencer, entrepreneur. I don't know where to start with this, but I suppose for a lot of our guests, it's always starting at the beginning.
Yeah. It's funny with titles. I always say this. There's a lot of titles in today's day and age, right? Everyone's got a title. So I like to bring it back just to, well, the way that I see it is just Aaron Knightley, right? Yeah. Everyone's got a title. So look, from the beginning, loud, outspoken, lively, confident, always knew that I wanted to do more and channeling a lot of energy, really. So come from a family that working class, never really had a lot of money, but really taught me hard work. And, you know, one thing I would say is that I think from seeing parents that work incredibly hard is you really value what you end up with. So I saw that my entire life, and I'm sure we're going to get into some of the things as I grew up and things that I do now. But lively, outgoing, saw hard work, which has led to the product today, I suppose.
So have you always been an entrepreneur? Have you, I mean, I forgot to mention that you help people escape the 9 to 5, right? Has that always been your mission, or, you know, have you worked for a company and you had to figure a lot of this out along the way?
Yeah, so I think, look, the journey was, I've always had a flair. I think when it comes to entrepreneurship, it's you know, but you don't necessarily know what it is. It's kind of just having that flair of wanting to do more, like a fire in your belly. You know, maybe you like money, maybe you just are always thinking for yourself, you come up with your own solutions opposed to being told what the solution should be. That's always kind of been me. I've been very sporty. I've played high levels of sport. And
what sports
I played high level football and boxing as well. So 2 sports which require discipline, which I'm sure we'll come on to. That's been a big part of my journey. I went into work, again, as we were talking off camera. I'm not academic. I've never enjoyed school. I was kind of always mucking about, was interested in my sports, but I always knew that I kind of wanted to, I suppose, you know, find my own path. And as we were saying as well with your man here, is like naturally you go into schooling and, you know, you think college and uni. I didn't do all of that, and I kind of went into full-time work and stuff and just knew that it was not for me. So before we kind of got on to the whole breaking out the 9 to 5 and starting that company and anything else that I'd done, I just knew I didn't want to work for someone. I just didn't like being told what to do. I didn't like ringing up and saying I'm going to be late, and then there might be a consequence for it. You know, like, oh, there's a car accident and you're going to get bollocks when you come in. I didn't like that. I just wanted to create and design my own life, which I have done today, which I'm sure we're going to get into.
And do you think a big part of that is your character, your personality, is you don't like to feel like you're boxed in? Like you kind of want to think outside the box and be outside the box, be a little bit of a maverick, but that entrepreneurial type person. And I suppose when you're working in a business, you have to work by the laws of the land.
Yeah. Like with employment, you're told what to do. Let me ask you, do you know anyone that actually enjoys being told what to do? I don't know anyone that would answer, yeah, I like it. It's kind of kinky. Oh, I don't know. That would be the only answer. Other than that, I don't know any adult really with a head on their shoulders that would turn around and say, I enjoy being told what to do. And I think it's not a case of not conforming to the norm, but for me, it's about designing a life where once upon a time, we really bought into this fact of, you know, you leave school and then you go and work for 40, 50 years. And then you have this little part later in life when you're old and decrepit, and you might enjoy some of it with a pension that you may or may not be given, you know, without complications and tax. It's, you know, it's very simple to me. I want to enjoy life now. I really want to do that. And that sounds very cliche. Everyone says, oh, I want to enjoy life, man. I really want to. It sounds a little bit, you know, a little bit like gimmicky. But you can if you work smart early on and you learn how that can be possible. And that is designing business. Business gives you freedom. And I just knew that I wanted to enjoy this, especially when you have, like a young family or children or anything like that, you want to spend time with them. So that was kind of my drive, really.
It's quite interesting because I feel like we could be quite similar, and I've found a lot of enjoyment through the work that I do. Now, a lot of people find enjoyment outside of their work, whether it's living for the weekends, going out on a Friday night, but then you get kind of stuck in this rat race cycle where you're actually limited to what you can actually do. And my dad, he used to love working. Is it just the case that you just really enjoy what you're doing? You've created a world for yourself.
There's a massive difference. Right? I talk about this all the time. It's crazy to think, right? When people book a holiday and they're employed, 9 times out of 10, people are booking a holiday to escape their life. How many people have you spoken to where they've gone, oh, I can't wait to get away from this hellhole. Can't wait to get on this holiday. Oh, I've got to go back. Oh, no, I really don't want to go back. Whereas I wanted to book a holiday, which I do now. And when I go on holiday, I love it. But I also can't wait to come back because I love what I do. There's a real difference. And I think some people aren't quite there yet to believe that you could do something that you really love, because we're only taught to go into the workplace and then build a career. We're not taught enough to build a career of your own, build your own ladder. And when you build your own ladder, when you book a holiday, you're going on holiday to enjoy it and to come back to something you love.
And when you say like we're not taught, like who's the we that's not teaching us, do you think?
Well, I think it's never going to be built into modules or, the school system, because again, we all know you don't want loads of people who are so savvy on business and tax, because you're going to mitigate paying more tax. If everyone knew how to mitigate tax through business and all the benefits that you can have, then obviously
the economy would probably start
the economy would be affected. So you do need what I call, in the nicest way, plodders. You need people that don't really have ambition, or at least within their career and their profession, they don't really have too much of an ambition. They're quite happy to go in, do a job and then leave, and they're quite content. That's absolutely fine.
But I suppose the people that you're trying to help are the people that don't want that life, that want to grow beyond that and have an opportunity outside into the big worlds, right?
Yeah. I mean, this could get really deep, right? Why do a lot of people suffer with anxiety? So for me, anxiety, and I can sit here and say, look, I've never suffered with anxiety. I've never suffered with depression, right? But I would say when we look at anxiety, let's actually have a look at the pattern of an average person, right? What happens? First thing in the morning, people wake up, typically, right? You can pretty much guarantee this, and they look at their phones opposed to acknowledging their family and taking in real life. They'll look at their phones, they'll lay in bed, and they'll scroll on social media and see what is classed as a perfect life. The next step for most people who are getting ready for work, they'll go have a coffee. What's coffee? It's a stimulant. It's caffeine. So now they've heightened their senses and they're becoming a little bit anxious and a bit paranoid. Now they're going into a workplace they don't really want to be at. They've done 3 processes which have set them up for failure. So, and that's quite a vicious cycle. And I see a lot of people that are hitting midlife crises and they're having a lot of problems, whether it's to do with mental health. And I think really you could identify, if you go pretty deep, where a lot of these problems come from. And it's from a lack of freedom, a lack of choice, a lack of purpose.
So, and I suppose having some like really good healthy habits in your lifestyle that contribute to you feeling good and living a positive life.
You've just said it, habits, discipline. Why do most people suffer in the workplace? They have bad habits. You've got to look outside of the workplace. Why are people mentally not in a strong place at the moment? Let's go back to the habits. What do you do every single morning? Well, I wake up, I look at social media. Right, okay, that's a really bad habit. What's your discipline like? Well, what do you mean? Well, what kind of fluids are you putting in your body? Well, I energy drinks in the morning. So there's kind of, you can strip it back and really see a pattern to why you might be the person that you are.
And it's like a compounding effect. You're adding all of these, like stacking this one negative thing on top of one negative thing, creating this like big mountain of things. Yeah.
What also doesn't help as well with people, when I say breaking free, so look, the breakout program, but just take that word breaking free. If people want to break free from a place that they're in, if you're around negative people, toxic people, you've got poor money management habits, your health is not in a good place, really breaking free from that. Most things could be done pretty instant, but typically people don't like making hard decisions. So we're in a world at the moment where everyone wants everything pretty quick. If you want to make more money, they want it now. You know, if you want to change your life, they want it now. If you want a new car, they want it now. There's no patience, like there's no longevity, because our phones tell us that it should be overnight. You know, money should be with us overnight, and it's not. And there's a real common theme is that most success that I've seen for people that really put in graft, it kind of happens over between like a 5 and an 8 year period. That's kind of where success levels can really take off. People haven't got that longevity anymore to change their lives, whether that's their workplace, whether that's making more money. Everyone thinks, well, if I do that, am I going to get the result next week? No, you're not.
And for me I suppose it all depends on how much energy you're putting into something as well. You put in 80 hours in a week to something that you're passionate about, you're going to go a lot further than someone that's putting in 20 hours or 25 or 30 hours. So there is that kind of thing that if you are keen on building a product or a brand, it's really important that you dedicate that time to it, especially at the beginning. And what I actually heard recently was it gets easier later on. It's really hard at the beginning starting businesses, but it's a lot easier later on because you've done what you needed to do at the beginning, not kind of let it fall into your lap sort of thing.
Sacrifice. That's something that a lot of people can't do, sacrificing things. In order to change your life, you need to cut off your mum and dad. Oh, I can't do that. In order to build a business, you need to work an extra 3-4 hours a night after your full shift of doing a 10-12 hour shift. I can't do that. You know, I've shared a lot of content in terms of like denial versus the truth. The reason why most people don't make it is because they come up with their own excuse. You know, I did a video most recently about victim mentality. Victim mentality has never been bigger than I see it. I see a lot of comments coming through and I see so many people that have a victim mindset. It's society, it's the economy, it's Boris, it's Rishi, you know, it's Sadiq Khan.
It's everyone else's fault.
It's everyone else's fault other than their own. And I feel that you really change your life and you can build businesses, brands, bring in extra money, build a great network, have a happy life at home when you are willing to, one, be honest, discipline, and make some sacrifices. For the long term.
And do you know what? It's really interesting you talk about sacrifices because I think you're always sacrificing something in a process.
Yeah.
So if you want to have, if you want to get boozy on the weekend and get absolutely smashed, generally you're paying for it on Monday and Tuesday and it's hit your pocket quite deeply. Or you're working the 9 to 5, or you're an entrepreneur and you sacrifice a lot of time.
Yeah.
You know, there's always a sacrifice, I suppose, that we've got to make.
Yeah.
But some lead to a more exciting and prosperous journey, I suppose.
Yeah, so if we strip it right back, right, to people changing their life, you've got to have purpose. I think what I've really identified over the years now is you have to have purpose.
Massive.
And if you don't have purpose, you seek negative pleasure, right? You can go down the other route. You can seek negative things, whether that's women, men, drug, alcohol, whatever, right? It can go down the other route. So what I see as a common thing, right, is that with victim mentality, is you have to make the change yourself. If you're not willing to make the change, nothing will happen and you'll end up in this midlife crisis and regret will bite you on the arse. It's really kind of what are you actually willing to do? What do you want? What does the next 5-10 years of your life look like? How long are you willing to build something without being paid if you're trying to bring in extra money? All these like self-evaluations of what needs to happen before you ever really actually make moves. And I feel that we just want everything right now, and I feel people need to really slow down and figure out that purpose.
Do you feel like you figured out your...
I know, yeah, absolutely. I have, you know, you said earlier, obviously sitting there, like you can feel the passion in when I'm talking is because I know my goal. Like I know each step. I know why I wake up every day. You know, it's crazy. Most people will wake up Monday to Monday and they don't really know what they're doing. They're going through emotion. You know, it's Groundhog Day. And that's why when they get to 40, 50 years old, life bites them on the arse because they look back and think, what the fuck have I done? I don't really know where I'm going or what I've been doing. And then they hit what's called this midlife crisis. Purpose.
So what you're saying really is have a plan and execute that plan. But I suppose, and make sure you've got conviction to that plan as well. Yeah. You know, don't wait for it to just happen overnight.
Yeah.
Stick to it every single day.
Yeah.
And make that promise to yourself.
Yeah.
And you'll start seeing the results.
Look, I'll give you an example. This one normally gets people moving, shall we say, right? Let's say trigger warning, right? So let's say disclaimer. Cost of living crisis. Is it real? in my opinion, when I say it's not real, is because you have two choices. You be proactive, or you sit and moan about it. There's no in between. You do one of the two things. And that's a perfect example of the world that we're in with the whole victim mentality. You can do the pity party, but the problem is no one really gives a shit. Or you can be proactive. And when I say proactive, and this can be considered in all areas of life, everyone says that it's a recession and the media pumps out cost of living with that big word crisis for the clickbait. Now, people who are going, well, my bills have gone up, petrol's gone up and stuff like that. Okay, we know this, right? We're all aware. But the question is, what are you going to do about it? We can sit here, we can meet up next week, we can meet up the following week, and we can discuss it over a coffee and have a good old moan about it. We can be negative Nancys and moaning Karens and all this lot. But what's the step to improve your situation?
Well, most people will just moan about it.
Yeah.
But that's what most people
People will. But, you know, we also need to look around us. City centres have never been busier. Airports, rammed. You know, car showrooms, selling cars left, right and centre. The world has not come to a stop. But if you just constantly consume all the negative stuff and you do not make moves, nothing will happen. Time will pass and then you become very bitter and regretful. Make moves. I say it to everyone. You want to get out your job? Great. What's the plan? You want to build a business? Great. What's the plan? Well, I'm just hoping it's going to happen. Right, well, I hope I win the fucking lottery, but it's not going to happen, is it?
So is that what you help people do? Is you help them through that journey, that process?
Well, I'm still trying to help myself, to be honest with you. I'm trying to, I started a company, in 2023 last year, one of them, and that was called the Breakout Program. But that really was created because I wanted to remind people and show people and actually break that message out there in that we're not in the 80s and 90s anymore. You know, when people turn around and say, oh, 90% of all businesses fail in the first 2 years. Are you living in the 90s? Like, we're in 2024. It's 18.4% of businesses fail in the first 2 years. And why? Because the risk has been dramatically mitigated because most businesses now are started with a phone and a laptop and no startup capital. Once upon a time, you would have never had a podcast in a bedroom. You'd have had to go to a studio for all the equipment. You practically have no overheads. This is a business. This is a podcast, but it's a business at the same time. So we need to get rid of old narratives. You know, oh, I just got to work for the next 40 years of life. No, you don't. Build something that you're passionate about and that gives you purpose.
And there's that, so I think there's that thing of you betting on yourself as well, right?
Yeah.
It's like, how much belief do you really have in yourself, in what you believe in, rather than believing in someone else's dream, I suppose.
Yeah, but to believe, this is, okay, so I spoke about this on my webinar last night. In order to believe you can achieve anything in the world, the first thing you need to do is a social evaluation. You need to cut off people in your life. If you are around people who are only having 20, 30,000 pound conversations, and that's their cap of conversation, you're around the wrong people. If you want to make money and you want success, you need to be talking only during the week, your working hours, with people who do 6, 7, 8 figures. You can't be having 30,000 pound conversations anymore. You need to cut people off. You need to open up your WhatsApp and go, right, who's the last 5 people I've spoken to? If you're all just sending, memes and cats jumping off buildings and people doing backflips, you've got the wrong social circle. So
what are you saying, to send it to the 7-figure people instead?
Yeah. Well, you never hear from them again. But the point is you evaluate who you're hanging around with. And that will really determine where you're going to be. If you want to make 6 figures, you don't talk to someone who's only turning over 25.
So there's the saying, you're the average of the 5 people that you hang around with, right?
Yeah.
So you are who you hang around with. And,
exactly.
And I suppose for a lot of people, if you're okay with that, then that's great. But if you feel like you want to go beyond something like that, then you need to change your environment.
Your environment is everything. Like, cutting off toxic people is not only refreshing, your life becomes so much purer. It's like, if you have a look at negative people that have the limited belief mindset, right? They don't believe they could change their life. People who don't believe that they can change their life, I guarantee you this. They watch the news, they read the news, they listen to the news.
And they ain't going to change their lives.
They're never going to change their life. They meet up with Karen, Negative Nancy, Moaning Mike, and they sit there and they complain about the world, Ukraine, Russia, terrorism. They'll moan about all of it. And they'll gossip to the high heavens and back. Those people have such a limited mindset that you can't go anywhere near them, whether they're your friends or family. You have to cut them off. If you want success, however you define that, you need to cut the people off that, one, if you consume the news, it is so damaging. Anxiety, paranoia, you are convinced the world is against you.
It's just all negative though, isn't it?
All negative.
Like, and I think like if you wanna feed off any negativity, just go straight to the news. And it's hard to know what's actually true and not these days.
You set yourself up for failure. So I think when you strip back your life and you really look at who you're around, what your beliefs are, what are your values, those that are around you, what are their values as well? Do you have a supportive network? And those of I say that there's 4 evaluations. When you change your life: self, time, financial, and social. Do those 4 evaluations.
Say it one more time.
So that is four evaluations: social, self, time, and financial. Those 4 evaluations I would always recommend to everyone before you ever try and, go for business or a brand or whatever you're trying to do in life that's, aiming towards success. Those evaluations. Clear out the dead weight. And that's what I did a long time ago. I used to hang around with some absolute dickheads. I don't have anyone in my life that's a dickhead now. I'm only around people that I would love to aspire to be like, or that I cheer them on as much as they cheer me. And it's such a nicer way of living.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think the problem that you got is if you're in the wrong group of people, there's the jealousy, there's it can make you feel very uncomfortable. It's like being a goldfish and swimming with a bunch of carp or something like that.
Yeah.
So you gotta make sure that you're in the right environment, because otherwise I think essentially they're going to be bringing you down rather than you wanting to pull up.
Conversations, that's the other thing that's extremely powerful. Like if we look at society now, especially in the UK, it's super, super taboo to talk about money. So I've said this a few times, but for me, money is everything. Money's health, money's wealth. There'll always be someone that will say, money's not health. When was the last time you saw a poor person that looked healthy? Or a homeless person? You have never seen that. Because we have such an old way of talking about money. In America, they're a little bit better, but you don't do anything without money. So money should be in our vocab every single day. It should be normal to talk about, how much did you make today? Well, I did this, blah, blah, blah. Great. What did you do? Well, I earned this. And how did you do it? Great. Okay, could you, let's bounce off of each other. Money is a good tool. Money is not the root of all evil. Money is the root of all happiness. Especially if you've never had money. You really value what money can do: options, time, freedom, financial stability. I don't know if you find this as well, but something I really try and remind people is actually you become a nicer person. If you're a nice person already, money just elevates that. By
the way, I totally agree. What I think money does is it elevates the person who's holding it.
Yes, of course.
And that's in good and bad.
Yeah.
That's part of the problem. So it's not money that's the root of it all evil.
Of course not.
It's generally the person holding it.
The paper's not evil. I'm calmer at home. I'm calmer with my partner, my son. I'm more content. I think logically.
But you haven't got the burden though of having, how am I going to pay the bills? How am I going to pay? Yeah. So I do understand how money is a good thing. I actually have also seen it as a little bit of an issue as well, because it can also create this comfortable environment, and I actually thrive off not being comfortable. That's how I grow. So I think you got to find a balance with money. It's good to have, but then too much of it can also change your mindset into other areas that you've got to start working on. Yeah,
but again, I think that would be to do with who you're around. If you obtained money and you got a lot of it and you saw what it could do, and then you started showing off, you started flashing that money, you could bring a new crowd in. And then your opinion and thoughts could change, and then you start keeping up with the Joneses. Whereas I think when you're around people who live a very lean life, and when I say lean, thankfully, and I'm very grateful, I'm around people who financially live an incredibly lean lifestyle, earn a huge amount of money, very low expenditure, and really know how to look after money. So I'm always learning from that angle of being really lean. We were talking about it with expenses and stuff like that. I think if you're around those types of people who earn the dollar goes into investments or reinvestments, education, and you're always striving for more, you'll stay on that path. I think when money comes in, perhaps people could start creeping in and you start going out. But again, that comes to your social circle. So
what does success look like for you?
So this is a funny one, right? I've been asked this a few times. Success, the definition of success, how I see it when I'm asked that question, is very simple. Little country house, cottage, semi-bed, copper pans, getting fat and slobby when I'm a little bit older, shooting every Sunday because I do a lot of shooting. I enjoy my shooting. And contentment, passive income, and enjoying time with the family. That's it. Very simple. Little electric car, nothing else. No one knows of me. I move myself out into the country with my family, and that's it. That's success. That's it. That's all I want.
So how do you then have the desire to do all of the other stuff that you're doing at the same time then?
Because it will get me there. So again, it's kind of like, what's your want? You know, I'm never going to hit a midlife crisis because I've always done everything that I wanted. I know where I'm going. I'm very content in myself, so I don't have any like social anxiety. I'm never questioning myself. And one thing I would say, which I think is really important for all the viewers, be disconnected when it comes to social media. Avoid social comparison. Avoid competing with other people who don't give a shit about you. Stop watching other people's journeys and do not consume. Only create. That's such a key thing. Never consume, because you'll pick up that phone, you start scrolling on any platform, an hour passes, you've watched other people's lives, you've done nothing about your own, and then you are, whether you know it or not, you are subconsciously comparing yourself to other people, and you've done fuck all in your own life. I never ever consume. I don't know what anyone else is doing. I haven't got a clue.
So you literally just create only...
I don't like other people's posts. You'll never see me liking other people's posts. There's only very few people that I'll ever have a look at their stories. I'll have some people ring me and say, did you see so-and-so? I haven't got a fucking Scooby. Really? Yeah, I don't know. Oh, right.
And
just
essentially
doing my own
you don't
thing.
and you don't want to know either, I suppose.
I don't want to know because I don't care. I don't care how much someone else has made or whatever.
And that's a very valid point, because I suppose what you're doing is you're fully focused and locked in to exactly what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
You're not trying to add anything. You're not trying to overcomplicate it.
Yeah.
It's like, these are my goals. This is my purpose, my family, my business.
Yeah.
I don't want anything else to infiltrate that.
Exactly that. That nothing else can come in. I love this old saying. Those who chase the big bucks, well, they say never chase the big bucks, because if you chase them, they'll crash.
Spoke it.
You know, imagine that vision. And again, I do a lot of hunting and shooting, so I love it. But imagine driving down a long road in the country and you see these beautiful bucks run across the road. Beautiful, 12 pointers, and they run into the forest. And you're driving along and you've got your destination, you've got another 10 miles on the go. You've seen these beautiful bucks and you're like, I've got to follow them. And you take a car into the forest and you crash. It's because you saw this beautiful thing that ran off onto the track where you shouldn't have been going. You should have stayed the 10-mile journey because you chased the big bucks. That's where it comes from.
It reminds me of the woman in the red dress in The Matrix.
Yeah.
You were looking at me or the woman in the red dress?
Yeah,
and
it's the distraction.
Yeah.
You know, it's everyone's so distracted. It's like there's that, I can't remember who she is. A video went round about it ages ago. She's I think she's the Swedish footballer who plays for one of their Premier teams, right? There was this slow-mo video of her where she sort of came back and the bum jiggled and everything like this. And then after it was, tell us what number she was wearing.
Yeah.
No one was looking at her T-shirt. No one could say what number she was wearing.
And I suppose the issue that we now have in this generation is there's so much information and knowledge. How does someone create that discipline? Were you never a scroller? Is that how it was just easy for you? Or
do you know what? From my mum and dad combined, I think the word I will label myself sometimes is ruthless. Like I'm just, I have this, I can
towards yourself.
I can no, just to executing a job that needs to be done. Like I can compartmentalize. Not everyone can do that. Like I can switch things off. And this is the real key. Like we were talking about training, right? Is that I feel that when you train your body,
you train your mind.
You train your mind. So if you lose someone close to you, if you experience something horrific, if you've trained your body and you've gone through and you've put yourself through things physically, you are just a little bit more prepared for the hard times. And look, I've had hard times and I've had things that I've had to get through and stuff like this. And I feel I've been able to compartmentalize and to stay focused where other people would crumble, be in certain situations where, maybe other people wouldn't have done so well. And I think that comes through discipline. Again, it goes back to key traits. Discipline, the sacrifices I made early on, having purpose. Why do you train, Aaron? Well, I want to make sure that I'm the highest form in physical body so that I'm flexible, mobile. So I've got longevity, perform well in business. I know some people who are straight, we were talking about some people, look at Jay Alderton, physical condition, killing it in business and on socials. The physical side of him complements his business. Why would you want to be fat and slobby and try and make as much money as possible? There are people that do it. It's not for me.
It was a thing. It was. I think that's changing a lot as well. I think in like the 80s, the 70s, whatever it was, a lot of people they were fat.
Big businessmen sitting there,
cigars,
armchair.
Yeah, and I think training and exercising is a fundamental part of any entrepreneurial journey, actually.
Yeah.
It keeps you aligned, it keeps you disciplined, it keeps you focused.
Yeah.
And, that's one thing I like to do is train every single, if not morning, it's got to be the afternoon. As long as I'm training and I'm committing to myself, it's a form of self-love as well.
Absolutely. No shortcuts as well on yourself. Like, be the harshest or hardest critic on yourself. Like one thing that I've implemented, which I'll talk about in a minute, but someone asked me the other day, and I thought this is relevant. How did I grow on TikTok so quick? Everyone seems to think that I have this. There was this secret sauce. Formula. Yeah, like I was doing something. To grow on TikTok rapidly, just consistency. I haven't done anything which no one else couldn't not do. I've posted, especially in the early days, 3 to 5 times every single day. For at least every single day. Wow. 6 to 7 months straight. Some videos blew up and I capitalized on momentum. I figured out what worked. I used the analytics to understand what was good. Once you've got analytics, what can you do? You can measure. From measuring something, you can progress. I was just consistent. But people are like, what? How do I grow? What do I do? Be consistent.
And do you know what? Have a shitload of passion as well towards what you're doing. Because to be
honest, enjoy it.
You blew me away out there. The way you were and the way you were talking about the statistics, the numbers, the leads, the this, the that, and it was just like you can see you're very engrossed in what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I think for a lot of us, we're standing back and then we're thinking, how does it all work? Well, you just got to get in the trenches.
Just get in it, and also have the vision of not expecting results early on. So anytime I've ever started something, I've always been okay by going, I probably won't reap the rewards for 18 months. Most people go, 18 months? When someone says to me, or look, when starting a new business, don't expect to earn money for the first 18 months. Most responses will be, oh my God, no, I can't be in my job for another 18 months. Well, that's what you need to do. That is the sacrifice. Work your full-time job, but accept building that brand and that business will not cash flow profit that is due to you. It might generate profit earlier, but you don't deserve that profit yet. Get it going, get it circulating in the business, grow it silently, keep building an empire. And then after 18 months, then take the plunge, because now you've produced the clients, you've got the reoccurring income. Everyone wants to start it and then next week hopefully go full time. It doesn't work like that. And I've always been okay to say, Aaron, you're going to start something new. You've got to fully commit and you might not take any profit for the first 6, 12, 18 months. Fine. Let's get on and do it. Happy days. Neither here or there with me. Let's execute. It's always...
And I suppose the thing that I've just started this podcast. I'm about nearly a year in, and I could have easily stayed in the job that I'm doing, and had a very comfortable life. And I think there's something to be said about living an uncomfortable journey as well. Like there's a lot of growth that happens in that. So for me, I've felt uncomfortable on many occasions. I've never been a guy who's done social media, so I like the concept. If you're uncomfortable, that's where real growth is actually happening.
Yeah, of course.
The only problem is the human nature side of us is we want to go to comfortable places.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of people do work full-time jobs.
Yeah.
It's comfortable. You get told what to do. It's easy.
Yeah, of course.
One of the biggest challenges was actually knowing what to do when you're an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And I suppose that's where you come in.
Yeah, of course. And also understanding that, do you know what? It's quite lonely as well. I say to people that ask me, whether it's starting a brand, whether it's trying to generate your own income, whether it's making the plunge, wherever, it's entrepreneurship is quite lonely, you know, and especially if you're going to go from full-time work in employment and then you make the jump into entrepreneurship, there normally is a few months where you feel a little bit in deep waters. You know, you feel like you're floating and you don't know where you're going to go, and it can feel quite lonely. And it's at that point, again, if we go back to what we said earlier, it's your social circle that's so important. It's having that ability to go, I'm feeling quite lonely. Entrepreneurship is quite hard. I've told everyone around me I'm going to build this big, incredible business. I can't go back into employment. You need to have a phone book that you can pick up the phone and say, dude, I'm struggling. I didn't realize entrepreneurship was this hard. I've got no clients. Can you advise me? And if you've got the network on the other side of the phone, you put your hand up and ask for help. I can tell you now, I've asked for a lot of help as an entrepreneur. A lot, and there's nothing wrong with it. But people, unfortunately, they bury their head in the sand and they hope problems go away. You've got to solve them. You have to solve your own problems.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, entrepreneurism is generally just problem solving.
Of course.
I feel like, you know, my brain is just hardwired to want to solve problems all the time. So.
Yeah.
Which you got to be careful. You don't want to look for the negatives too much.
Because you're always ready for it.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. But that's what people want. They want problem solvers. They need problem solvers. So, you know, whether it's somebody starting their own business, you know, how do I get from point A to point B?
Yeah.
And I suppose that's exactly what you're trying to do, is help other business owners with that kind of blueprint.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, you know, people who, so what I do is I try and help people that really want to escape the 9 to 5, start their own businesses and brands. But, you know, just quickly on the whole, the way that you see things and being a problem solver, Simon Leslie, who's a good friend of mine, he said this perfectly. People have come to him in the past, and one thing that he really tries to pass on to everyone, he's passed it on to me, and I love it, is when people say to him, you know, people have come in his office, and he's done very well in business, and people say, I've got some bad news. He'll always say, you haven't got bad news, you just have news. I'll decide if it's bad news. Because if it's news and it's considered bad, well, we've got to solve that problem. So don't come to me with bad news. And I really like that, because it's subjective, isn't it? Your bad news to me might actually be, okay, it's a little bit of a hindrance and it's a pain in the arse, but actually I have a solution for it. So you've come in with that negative mindset thinking it's a problem. It's not. We just need to find the solution. Thomas Edison just found 1,000 ways to not find the light bulb, to not make it work. So you have, like you say, you have to be prepared every day to come into problems, because there are more lows than there are highs, but the highs outweigh the lows in entrepreneurship.
Yeah, I think we've probably got it a little bit skewed as what good problems are and bad problems are anyway. So what kind of I see bad problems is, like, you might have a drug addiction, that's a bad problem you got to deal with. A good problem might be that, somebody's got an emergency, you've got to sort this job out and get this done. That's a good problem to have. So, yeah, perspective on that is really, really important, because I think sometimes if you don't have people to lean on, what you're talking about is it can turn into turmoil.
Well, we live in a world of old narratives, right? We were saying about the business is risky, but the other one is where people will just self-justify old narratives because it makes them feel better. So one that comes up a lot for me, which I'm trying to replace this whole, well, if you start a business or a brand, or you're looking to change your life and have some form of monetary success, you're going to miss out on the opportunity to enjoy life. It's not that way. That's not how it works. In today's day and age, if you build a predominantly online-based business where it's very lean, it's operated by less than 10 people, you will have more time. But people are still trying low costs, but people are still trying to justify, well, I'm in employment, but if you want to start your own business, you're going to be miserable, lonely, you're going to have loads of money and your family are all going to leave you and your kids are going to hate you because you've never seen it. No. I actually see my family far too much. Like, I live a very lean life. I've got a high income.
You work from home.
I work from home. I basically have no outgoings, and I see my family whenever I want, wherever I want, and I see them a lot. So it's the other way. And when I go on holiday, I want to go on holiday. But people will justify, well, starting a business is so risky and you're going to be stressed and you're going to lose your hair. No, I think actually climbing the corporate ladder, ending up being a COO or someone who's on a 200 grand salary, I think you're going to be on anxiety pills and depression pills, and you're going to have to stay on your toes because everyone's biting at the heels for your job.
So why do you think it's so difficult for people to buy into the new narratives?
I just think, like I said to you, you know, not in a rude way, but I think we are waiting for a few baby boomers to visit Jesus. That's it. I just think that there is a majority of people that are still in circulation who believe the news, who believe old information, and they're passing that still on to their children. And people have been, you know, not brainwashed, but people have been convinced that this is the process you go through in life, and anything outside those comfort zones, as you said, that's where it's scary, that's where it's risky, and you shouldn't do it. And it's only for the very few who are lucky and who are born with a silver spoon up their arse. No, it's not. It's for anyone
who wants it.
Anyone who wants it bad enough and is willing to be disciplined and make the sacrifices.
Because I do definitely see it evolving. I can see it's changing. People's mindsets have shifted massively compared to what they call it boomers.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm so not up to date with all of this, by the way. But yeah, so I can see the evolutionary thing happening. The thing is, I don't know what it's going to take for somebody to really say enough is enough.
Yeah.
Normally, the driving force for me is for change is there's a pain there, there's a desire there.
Yeah.
So there's I'd like to do that someday, and then there's being really kicked in the back once, and thinking, do you know what? I've had enough, and I'm doing what I need to do.
Yeah.
But it'd be great if we proactively thought like this.
But again, that comes from who you're hanging around with. If you're around people who are ambitious, want more, have done more, are striving for more, you will want more and you will believe more. You will see more, you'll talk more, you'll do more, you'll learn more. It all comes down to the people that you're around. I'm around people, and I'm very blessed to have the people, but I've been proactive around people who do tens of millions, hundreds of millions of pounds a year. I can only be inspired. I can only be inspired. Why would I ever want to go back to thinking about £19,000 salary? I only want to be thinking about 5 mil turnover, 10 mil turnover, selling peak performance for 20 mil plus by 2030. That's all I think about. And then the benefits of all of that. It's a far purer life. But there are some people that say, oh, Scrooge, snobby, money's evil, awful. You should work hard, dig holes, put concrete and bricks together. That's a real family person.
So how does a person surround themselves with these type of people?
You network, you network, you network, you network. You know, a blend of both. Again, this is a very common question I get asked all the time. Aaron, I agree with you. I want to get around right people. I've cut people off, my sister, my mum. How do I get around these people? Network. Buy the train ticket.
Go to peak performance.
Come to peak performance events, you know, in London. But seriously, network. Go to marketing events, sales events, TEDx talks, seminars, ours, online events. Network with social media. Get into free communities. Get into free Facebook groups. Start asking for help. Start brainstorming with people. It's very simplistic, really. Like everything I've just said is quite obvious. You know, but you have to do things in priority. When you have spare time, are you down the pub or are you trying to build a better network? In your spare time, are you spending money down the pub or are you saving into your emergency fund? You know, there's some horrific statistics which we can share in a minute, but, you know, it's all very simplistic. If you want to change your circle, go to more networking events. But I really recommend face-to-face.
What sort of events? Is that
just
a no-brainer for you?
It is, yeah. Like, you just meet incredible people. Never go in with an agenda. Just go in, talk to people. You know, what do you do? Collaborate. You know, one thing in the UK, which is a real shame, and it's great doing things like this, you have a look in America. I know a lot of people that have been over to America and collaborate. In America, they're so pro-collaboration. They're so pro-success. They're so pro-money. They're, you know, someone who's got 5,000 followers will do a vlog in the gym or a video or a podcast with someone who's got 4.5 million. They're so open to collaboration and they just help each other. Over here, it's like, oh, I've got 10,000 followers. I don't want to help you. You know, it's like, oh, I've got more followers than you. I don't want to help you because then if we collaborate, my audience are going to see you. Fucking really? Why don't we just start collaborating more? You know, in the UK, we need to do more of that. Share each other's stories. And that's what's great about networking.
And why do you think that is? Like, people don't...
I think some people are scared of sharing success, or they think there's limited amounts of it, and you know, they don't want other people to see them because they might lose their own followers. Well, actually, you're fine. The more you collaborate, the more everyone grows. You know, one thing that's, you know, look, TikTok for me has been game changing, but you know, I've grown incredibly quick, but I've also been able to collaborate with a lot of people. You know, podcasts or attending events, showcasing things that I do on TikTok, and you know, it helps, you know, and that's how you grow quick. It's like you want to be seen more. we should all be proactively helping everyone. There's plenty of success to go around, but I think that's where people stunt their own growth, is they're a little bit afraid to work or collaborate with other people. Don't be. And I think a lot of that comes from the corporate culture. You know, you don't want to say this because they might get the promotion, or, you know, I don't want to say that because that might...
Well, I found there was a lot of blame culture in that culture, if I'm honest with you. It was like, you know, the more people stood back, the more protected they were, the more they were kind of like in the trenches getting involved, the more at risk they were.
Yeah.
So I was, in my head, I was like, this isn't a thriving environment that I like what I perceive as a thriving environment.
Yeah.
You know, so I think, when it comes to the corporate side, it's like dog eat dog, essentially.
Yeah. But also reacting out of fear, right? So this is, again, I love getting into like these kind of things, but using the corporate world as a prime example, right? You've got people that backstab each other. You've got people that climb the ladder. They go for a promotion. They'll tread over anyone. It's very politically competitive, right? Now, when I was in the corporate world, in employment, I never put up with shit because I was financially empowered. I had priorities in my life when it come to my finances, that I looked after my finances, which in turn looked after me in the workplace.
Do you reckon that painted a bit of a target on your back in the process?
Well, it did eventually, because I always, you know, I would sit in a meeting like this, would be in a room like this with a bigger table, and I'd be asked to do something or a new process. I would sit there, I would think about it, and when it came to my turn to talk, if anyone hadn't had it all spoken, I'd speak at the end. And I'd turn around and say things like, I won't be doing that. What do you mean, Aaron, you won't be doing that? I that is a manager's job. That is not us. And I have no idea how that's even been considered to be rolled onto us. Well, we're not asking you. We're telling you, no. Let's just get, you're on a salary, right? You're earning 45,000. I'm on 30,000. You're earning 15,000. You talking to me like that and telling me as a human being that I have to do it. It's not working like that. Firstly, let's show some respect. I'm giving a logical reasoning, X, Y, and Z. I'm not going to be doing that. And actually that fits the manager's role. What is the manager doing during that process? And then it'd be a bit of a back and forth. And then I'm seen as the problem. I didn't fucking care because I sat there with financial empowerment. I'd get up and walk out and be financially okay.
Because all they really want is compliance. People to compliance, yeah.
Do as you're told.
Yeah.
Sheep mentality.
And I think what a lot of people have had to do is dim their switch in the process just to comply.
Literally dim their switch. I've not heard that one.
Yeah,
literally.
Like,
but
turn it down.
Yeah.
And stop caring. Pretty much stop caring. But the beauty of entrepreneurship is that you actually care.
Yes.
You actually get to do something that you're passionate about. Yeah.
You're passionate about your own baby. You've just hit on a very valid point. That's half the problem with that employed world, what you've just said there about dimming the switch. People can really lose themselves in employment, and they have their self-esteem lowered. But that happens subconsciously. So month after month, year after year, if you're told what to do and you never push back and say, you know, you're around a table and you've all been told to do something, and you've got all these yes men and yes women, and you're sitting there in a work meeting and you're thinking, I don't agree with that. And it comes to you, anything to say? No. You do that time and time again, you actually lower your self-esteem and your confidence. So then you're not speaking up for what is right. So when you see something happen in the street of an old lady being picked on, you might think, and you just walk by. Fuck that, I'm in there straight away, because I've always done what I wanted to do. And I think, again, tying that into like anxiety or mental sort of issues that people have, whatever's going on in their life or whatever's happened, I think what happens is over a process they lose themselves. In however you lose yourself as an individual, so at some point you've lost yourself. So you've not been true to who you are, or perhaps you've not had the strength to be who you are. So you're not able to make certain decisions. I've always done what I wanted to do, so I'll fucking be in there. Or I'll say I don't agree with that, I'm not doing it. Well, Aaron, this is a consequence. You do what you want. Believe me, you set me a consequence, I'm coming back at you. I've always been sort of empowered, you know?
I can't remember if I heard this from Rob Moore, actually, but one thing that I really liked by what he said, it was around entrepreneurs and intrapreneurs.
Yeah.
I've never heard about intrapreneurs before.
Yeah.
But I actually think that's a really cool concept, because some businesses actually allow people to thrive as internal. They are essentially internal entrepreneurs in business.
Yeah.
So I love the concept that not everybody is built to want to run their own business. I can appreciate it's a big responsibility. It's a lot of stress. It can be a lot of stress depending on the type of model that you have.
Yeah.
But I also love this concept of you can actually be an entrepreneur in some businesses, because I have people that work for me and they are really good at what they do, and I think they thrive and they fly within the business.
Absolutely.
And I think that's a really important trait.
It is.
As a business owner.
It is.
Well.
So I talk a lot about this, right? Why do people, if you look at typical corporate places, you've got a lot of demotivated people, right? You've got a lot of people who are unhappy. There was a survey done last March in 2023, and it was something like they asked a bunch of questions to people who are in the workforce, and it was 85% of the UK workforce, right, which is 43 million people, that said they hate their jobs. So there's a high portion. Typically it's not they hate their jobs, it's they hate the culture and typically their managers. As the saying goes, in employment, most people quit their managers, not their jobs. So there's a culture that they're not happy with. But as you were saying, with the whole entrepreneur, people who really thrive within a role, great, there are companies out there who look after their staff members. But let's change some things. Let's have more compassion for your staff. Let's have more empathy. If they ring up and say, look, I've got to go to a funeral, understand that, and say, we've got you. Let's look after you. Do you need training? Is everything all right at home? Like, let's ask and let's actually be there to support. Again, we don't need the word manager. We need leaders. We don't need to use the word employee. Team members. Let's work collectively together. You do that, you get happy culture. And when you get happy culture, you get maximum output where people are actually happy to do it. And people stay in their jobs. There's a higher retention rate. It's so simple. It frustrates me because to make a happy work culture, it's so simple. But the problem is most corporate companies still are hiring egotistic, narcissistic, power hungry, whip cracking managers. That's the problem.
And I think their eye and attention is very much on one thing, which is just the money.
KPIs, metrics.
Yeah, statistics.
Yeah.
But I think that's a big problem for a lot of bigger businesses. In the end, it gets so driven by numbers that the people don't even matter anymore. It's
CEOs too high. There's the separation, and that's the thing that I'm certainly looking to change as well. Is that anyone that works, and it's really key to like your wording. Anyone that works alongside me, with me. I hate the word "you're working for me."
I totally agree with that. Yeah.
I honestly I can't get on board with this. If you're the CEO or a business owner, you're a better person and you deserve more rights than the cleaner. It's so, I can't fathom how that's even acceptable. And that's one thing in my old workplace. I really struggled looking around. I mean, no one fucking did that to me, but I struggled looking around and seeing people being spoken to like shit. And I'd even say to them, are you gonna, what are you gonna do about that? Well, nothing. I need to pay my mortgage. Fuck. What's your financial situation like? Well, I'll go to the pub. Stop going to the fucking pub. Start putting it into a maintenance fund. So next time he fucking turns around and says that to you, you can say, fuck you. You can't talk to me like that. I fucking can because I've had enough of you. In the office now. You ain't telling me to go in the office. I fucking am because I've had enough of you. It's so simple to change these problems. And I just knew I knew I needed to get out of it.
Yeah.
And try and be the change.
Yeah, I respect that. And when we talk about change, so you've got peak performance events. Like, what is peak performance events?
Peak performance events, essentially, well, now Peak Performance is the umbrella company. Peak performance events, we started that, 2 years ago to have an event space. Because both my business partner and I, we've been to a lot of events, we've socially networked, and a lot of it's curtains and carpets, I call it. It's quite boring, quite mundane. We wanted to bring something with a bit of flair, bit of drive, bit of excitement, where people from all walks of life, I didn't come from money, so I want people who are covered in tattoos, who haven't come from money, that don't believe that they can change their life other than where they're at, whether they're born on a council estate or whatever, to come in at an affordable price to learn from people who are incredibly successful in their field, who are willing to share this information to give people belief, and then to provide a room of just incredible people from all walks of life to collaborate this whole problem that we don't collaborate enough, and then to go on to do some incredible things. We got some amazing success stories, business partners coming together, a marriage, we've got wicked success stories, people going on to work in freelancing work with each other, and it's grown very quick. We went from a team of just me and Paul to now a team of 11, and we're going to try and put on one of the biggest UK events midsummer of 2024. And look, we're just excited about it, but it was to change people's lives.
Bring like-minded people together.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I mean that's so it definitely goes back to your kind of networking, surrounding yourself with the right type of people.
Yeah.
Like, and I think what you do is you bring all of them people that do feel like they're on their own, wouldn't
Yes.
know where to start, because
Yeah.
that's what I did a few years back. The entrepreneurial journey was quite lonely. It was quite mundane. It was just work. So I felt like I needed to start surrounding myself with like-minded people, and
Yeah.
I did that. And to be fair, it started. It had a positive impact on my lifestyle.
Yeah.
So, but it's almost like if you want to get good at boxing, go join a boxing gym.
It's so simple.
Yeah.
Like we all know a lot of the answers. You know, how'd you go on TikTok? Start posting. Start solving a problem. Start being relatable. How'd you go on YouTube? Find a niche. Solve a problem. How'd you network? Book a ticket and get on the fucking train and go there. You know, I think a lot of people are just fearful of they know the answer, but they want to hear it. They want it confirmed maybe 2-3 times from someone else. They want to see the end product of the decision that they're about to make that's uncomfortable. Well, if I do book that ticket, you promise I'll be successful? I'm not promising a fucking word.
Yeah.
Go and book the ticket and find out. Take the action.
But you work with a lot of people and entrepreneurs. What does it take for them to change? What do you see in them? Do you have to keep reminding them, or is it that they blow a fuse and they're like, that's it, I'm gonna change? Like what?
They need a consequence. So they need to do the 4 evaluations. So, okay, to be a successful entrepreneur, you do the 4 evaluations: social, time, financial, and self. But then, most importantly, you need a consequence. If you do not fail, what will happen? That's the key answer. I had a friend who went to start his own business. He gave it up because he was already in a high-paid job. He wants to break free and wants to work for himself, but the honest answer is he's too comfortable.
He's too comfortable. Yeah.
There is no reason why. So you have to have a tangible reason why. If I didn't work for myself, I'd be miserable. My family would be miserable. I'd affect other people. I would be regretful. I'd lay on my deathbed one day, kicking myself. I would hate myself, knowing how tough life is. I haven't put my mind, body and soul through everything to give my son a better life. To get to pension age and not have a pension, perhaps. To get to that age of where you're old and you have to go into a health, like a care home, but you can't go into a private one. So when you fall out your bed, they're going, oh, for fuck's sake, get in the bed. And they kick you and they do stuff like that. No, I want money to be able to go, we can go into a really nice one where we're going to be looked after. If you don't end up with family, or your children pass before you do, or your wife leaves you, or your husband leaves you, and you're on your own, are you going to be able to take care of yourself? You have to have a consequence in life. Otherwise, you will not make any changes.
And I suppose it's really feeling that consequence.
Yes.
Because a lot of us are just probably plain ignorant to the fact that we ain't going to have to pay for something later on.
Yes.
If we don't do the work today, we can ignore it for all we want, but sooner or later that's going to...
Yeah. I always find it in business. If someone's building a brand or a business with the purpose to cash flow, I'll then go, right, what's the fitness situation? What's the health situation? I'm not really into it. Right, okay, so you want to make money, you want to build a brand, you want to build a business, but you're not going to look after your health. Well, I'm not really into it. But we're going for longevity here. The things that you're building now at 20 years old, 25 years old, don't you want to be skydiving, going on holiday, skiing, going nice places when you're 40, 50 and 60, so you can enjoy everything you're working for now? In order to do that, put good fluids into your body, train hard, stay mobile, good cardiovascular system, and look after yourself in mind and body. Oh, well, I don't like working out. What? Why are you working for money now that could serve you later? You might be able to see your great-great-grandchildren.
And it's really interesting you say that, because I knew a really wealthy entrepreneur, worth millions. It was a few years back now, and he's actually died. But I think he had about 70 million pound business, and he died at about 68. And it felt like there was a trade-off, where it was like, I'm going to solely make money and everything else doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And I don't think that doesn't need to happen. You can actually focus on all of those things.
This is what I talk about all the time, mate, on live stream, where people say, if you're building a business and you're working full time and you're having to put in hours after you've finished your job, you're sacrificing your health. You're not. I say this all the time. If you want to make money, you want to build a brand, you want to build a business, sleep less, sacrifice, be disciplined. If you don't have time in the morning, go to bed later. It's not forever. And there'll always be people that say, well, sleeping less is unhealthy. Fine, if you were to do it for 30 years straight. But for 3 years, sleeping slightly less and only 5 to 6 hours a night, you're going to be fine. If you've got good fluids, you take your vitamins and you work out and you have purpose, you'll actually find when you start having more purpose and you start building your own baby, you're actually going to feel you're going to feel healthier.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, I don't know about you, but when I started my first business, my brain was hardwired. So I'll be laying in bed thinking about what I'll be
never switch off.
You'll never switch off, right? So if you're that engrossed and really believe in what you're doing, sleep actually does take a little bit of a back step. It's not the healthiest way to do things, but it might be a little bit.
It has to give. Something has to give. Again, going back to sacrifice. Do you see, we always come full circle here. Everything has key traits and key habits. What are you willing to sacrifice? It's so simple. Lay it out on the table. Write everything that you need to change in your life, and really circle the things you're not or you are willing to sacrifice. Get a good understanding of what you need to do. If it's time that you need, what are you willing to cut off time-wise? Everyone will say, I don't have time. It's a very common thing. Well, I'd love to, but I don't have time. Give me your fucking phone. I want to see what you do on your phone. Let me see where you scroll. Let me see how many hours you're putting in elsewhere. Or I don't have the money. Everyone has the money. It's just priorities, isn't it? So you've really got to work out, how much do you want it? What's the consequence? And what are you willing to sacrifice? And who's around you to keep you afloat? Because it is lonely. It's hard entrepreneurship. Who's going to pick you up when you fall off the horse? How can you make your rebound time that much quicker? My rebound time's very quick.
What's a rebound time?
If you fall flat on your face in business, if you have a really bad week, if you lose clients, how long does it take you to take that sucker punch and then get back on the horse again, not knowing if it's going to succeed or fail? What is it Mike Tyson says? Everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the face. It's brilliant though, isn't it? I used to box. I used to think, right, I'm going to come in with the absolute cricket ball overhand. I'm going to try and knock him out in the first 3 seconds. That didn't work. Right, what's the plan? Well, we're going to go back, keep him long at the arm. Oh no, just got punched in the face. Actually, I'm going to start swinging. Everything changes.
Well, this is why I love boxing so much, because I see life as a fight. I see it as like you're fighting daily in what you believe in. Yeah. So that's why I love boxing, and I would definitely advocate for anyone to get into it, to be honest, even if it's just a train.
Just fitness in general, right? Just looking after yourself. When you're fit, you're healthy, you feel you can do more, you feel more confident, you feel that you can push yourself to new limits. You just feel so much more strength in yourself to really achieve new things, because you're fueling your body, right? And that's the driving force. And that's why now I'll always say to people, you're looking to take this on, I would say blend this in with fitness. Like, get yourself in the gym, get around people that are healthy and that talk about good food, good fluids, look after themselves. Because whether they're in business or not, if you can get around people who look after themselves physically, they'll have a high level of discipline.
And you'll probably start looking after yourself that little bit more as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So what's next for you? What's on your radar, your journey?
For me, my goals in 2024 are, I want to get to like 500k on TikTok, 50k on YouTube. I want to build one new business this year. Just to put context behind that, you're actually making money through your social media pages as well, right? Yeah, so I suppose just to go over TikTok, just very briefly, right? So I've grown very fast on TikTok. So 14 months ago, 0 followers. Now I'm at 253, maybe, possibly 54, because it was constantly going up. Done that in 14 months, over 250 million views, generates multiple streams of income every single day, every single minute of every day, earns money. Like, it's an incredibly powerful platform. And then that complements everything else, like it accelerates everything else. If you set yourself up for like funneling and, take in essentially when I say customers, they're not followers for me. These are customers I'm serving. The other thing you have to remember is, like, when you're building a brand like this, you have an obligation to serve your followers. They stick around, they want to see what's going on. They want to hear, they want to learn. So social media has been a huge part. TikTok is, dude, it's just like we were saying, obviously going through some of the numbers, but like it's insane. It can change your life. Very weird to say, but it can.
So continue growing your account. What about the peak performance events and your other business?
Yeah, so peak performance events, the goal with that is that we really want to scale to compete with like the likes of TEDx. And I think we will. Like when you see peak performance, when we have it at our London venue and you see it on the wall, you already know it's a household name. Like I can already see this being one of the biggest events companies in the UK. If not, we can push it globally with the right funding and stuff like this. We'll want to scale that to 2030, see what the valuation is. We've got no debt, no leverage, no overheads. It's literally like 95% profit, 5% expenditure. If we can continue that way to 2030, we conservatively say it will be 20 million. Will it be more? Quite possibly. Look at TEDx. They scaled. TEDx went from 0 in 16 years to like $66 million.
Wow. Was that?
In 16 years.
Yeah.
Because that's when they really pushed the in-person events, and they did that in a 16-year period, up to $66 million. Could we do that quicker with smart marketing? Absolutely. With the right people behind us. And then the breakout program, I just want to absolutely blow that up in terms of showcasing that if you've got that ambition, that drive to escape your job, the breakout program is there for that. It does exactly what it says on the tin. There's no fluff. It's underpriced, over-delivered. And then Knightley Investments will continue serving wealthy clients.
And you said this to me earlier, and do you know what? I just want to emphasize on it before we finish about... I've forgotten it already, about value and
the value, like
provide overvalue,
and
underprice.
That
that's what you kind of solely focus on. I think that's a really good thing to take away for any entrepreneur. Is give more than essentially what you're getting back.
Yeah, it's tiring, but what I would say, so tying this into TikTok, because anyone who might watch that has a flair for TikTok, right, is there's a bit of a like, how do I grow on TikTok? But I'm going to talk in the context of the platform, but this is in business in general. What I have learned and what I'm constantly absorbing from people who have done very well. To grow fast on TikTok and monetize TikTok, you have to over-deliver in your value. And you have to be consistent. You have to solve problems. You never go for views. It's the same in business. Never go for the money. And it's the same for socials. Do not go for views. Go for those loyal followers who are going to watch the entire video, the entire episode, the people who are going to commit and show up at every single video and over-deliver to all of those. Because they'll be the ones to tell other people. They'll be ones that will launch your first video, your first product. Over-deliver in everything. Solve problems. Relate to people. And cause that push and pull in business. You can't have everyone be a yes man or a yes woman. So I think about that all the time. How can I relate to people? Variety. How can I solve problems in maybe 3 different core areas and become a key person of influence?
Do you know what? It's not even just TikTok. I find personally, I found that in my own business venture, giving so much more. It's almost like karma. It's like you give what you get back.
Yeah.
And people buy into that.
Yeah.
They don't want someone that's just going to do the absolute bare minimum that it doesn't fill them with confidence. It doesn't. You
can see a money maker from a mile off as well. Life of equilibrium. It will come back. Give. You'll eventually get.
Yeah.
Gary V. Jab, right hook.
That's it. Yeah.
So serve, but again, that's the front end work. Like we said earlier, it's trying to say to someone, look, you're going to have to give a load of free shit for the next 18 months. Before you start making profits. Are you willing to do that? Oh, I don't know. It's a lot of work in it for nothing. You got to think 5 years down the road. Again, that all comes from the life that we live in. Socials, everyone wants it now. That's why I'm so disconnected. I don't look at other people. If someone's flying to Dubai tomorrow, I don't look. I don't know. I know that I'm going to Disney this year. I know that I'm going to book my summer holiday. I'll be able to go when I can go. I wouldn't even fly business class if I could. And I could, but, I wouldn't fly business class. I have no interest. I like to stay humble, grounded.
Focused.
Yeah.
Mate, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you today. Very insightful. I've really enjoyed it, and I'm definitely excited. I might have to go to one of your peak performance
Do
events.
come along, mate. We'll sort you out. Yeah. But no, pleasure's been all mine.
Yeah, thank you for coming such a long way today as well.
That's all right.
If you want,
No worries.
shout out any of your tags if you're
Just Aaron Knightley on everything. There you go.
Everything.
Type in Aaron Knightley. Get the right Aaron Knightley. I've got a lot of scam accounts out there. But yeah.
But thank you again, pal.
Oh, pleasure was all mine.
Cheers.
Cheers.